Okay, so as I mentioned, one of my bad habits sometimes is not naming my project. So I'm going to go do a save as really quickly. And I'm going to save this on the V drive, right, under my folder, my materials folder. And I'm just going to call this materials exercise underscore my initials. And that's the same way I want you to do it so that you can submit it. Okay. All right. So we know that we do have, based on using the realistic setting, that applied to all the walls, right? And if I go in here and save these three and go in now, I need to just change that to what? What did we call that wall? Aluminum panel, right? So now all of my walls look like the aluminum panel, and that's great. But what if I always don't want to be in realistic mode? What if I want to be in a different mode, like the hidden line feature? You see the pattern is applied there, but we have no pattern here. So let's go back into our wall. And the next step I want to take in editing the structure is going back into the material. And I want to look at not just the appearance right now, but the graphics. And right now I don't have anything viable applied to it. So let's look at the surface pattern, because that's what we're concerned about right now. So if I click on this surface pattern, right now it's just on solid fill, and that's by default. But if I looked around in here, what I do is try to find something that looks like an aluminum panel. But unfortunately, there's not. So I'm going to click over on this model button here. And even on there, there's nothing that looks like it. So what I'm going to do is, while it's on no pattern, I'm going to go down here and say new fill pattern. Okay? And I'm going to call it, surprise, surprise, aluminum panel. Now, what I'm going to do is say that I don't want parallel lines. I want a crosshatch. And I want to change the line spacing. And I want to stop the video for a second so we can talk about something. This. Let me come in here and say that I want my panels to be a crosshatch, but I want the line angle to be 0, right? And then I can say the line spacing on one is maybe 2 foot, and maybe the other one, oops, hold on a second, it wants me to put 2 foot dash 0 inches, and maybe the other one is going to be maybe 4 foot dash 0 inches. Let's see what that looks like. Let's just see what that looks like. Aluminum panel. I'm going to hit apply and OK and OK and apply. Now that looks a little odd, doesn't it? As you look at it the first time, right? Because it looks like they're going what? Horizontally. Maybe we want to try the other direction. Let's see what happens if we try the other direction. Let's click on our wall again and let's go to edit type. And let's go to structure and go to aluminum panel, and we'll go to this pattern, and I can come in and edit the fill pattern, and I can say maybe I want this one to be 4 foot and I want this one maybe to be 2 foot. Let's see what we get out of that. Okay, so maybe now that looks a little bit more like an aluminum panel in that particular view, right? Another thing that we can do while we're in here is we can go into the edit type, and we can say under structure and under this material, right? I can say that if in the shaded view, maybe if I don't want it to be that really dark gray, maybe I can lighten it up a little so it looks a little shinier, right? And then I have to think about what's the color on the surface pattern going to be. Those seams, right, between the panel. Right now they're like a lighter gray. I could make them black, right? I could come in here and say make them black, and let's see how that looks when I do that. Now they're black, right? And if I go to a regular shaded view, not realistic, now that looks a little dark, right? It looks a little more like concrete possibly. So let's play with it just a little bit. So let's go in one more time, edit the type, and maybe, just maybe, I'll go back to the color that was, I believe, was it 120? I think it was 120 by 120 by 120, if I remember right. So I'm going to go in here and put 120 by 120 by 120. All right. See what kind of look I get then. And really, people, this part is just a personal preference for you, right? So now when I look at this, they're just, instead of being like a bold black color, they're a little grayer. And maybe it looks like maybe the light shining off of it and that seam that you see in there isn't quite black, but maybe it's a little grayish. And that's something that you can play with individually to your taste. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. There's still a few other little things that we're going to do as far as the texture of that material is concerned when we're in a realistic view, but we'll look at that in the next video.